circles. Click. Circle. big black big black the big black
かっこいいから好きなんじゃない、好きだからかっこいいんだよ。誰かにバカにされてもなんともない。だって私のヒーローいつも眠いって言うくせに授業は起きているとことか、みんなの前ではクールなのに犬の前ではデレデレなとことか、ああ本当に愛してやまないあなたのこと、私だけのヒーローになってよ。 LINE だってしていたいし一緒に帰ったりしたいよ。放課後部活に行くあなたにまたねって独り言、休みの日だって会いたいし寝落ち電話もしてみたいけど、そんな勇気はちっともなくて呆れるな。振り向いて欲しくて意識して欲しくて香水をつけて一人でむせて、あなたが欲しくてあなたのものになりたくて、明日こそはってベッドの上でシミュレーション、あなたを考えながらまた明日。可愛いから好きなんじゃない、好きだから可愛いんだよ。誰かにバカにされてもなんともない。だって僕のヒロイン今日こそ起きるっていうくせに結局授業で寝るとことか、みんなの前ではおてんばなのに案外涙もろいとことか、ああ本当に愛してやまない君のこと、僕だけのヒロインにならないかな。勉強とか教えてあげたいし一緒に映画とか見に行きたいよ。放課後友達と笑う君にバイバイって独り言、君のストーリーに乗りたいし俺の彼女自慢もしてみたいけど、告白なんかできそうになくて呆れるな。振り向いて欲しくて意識して欲しくてワックスをつけてベトベトになっちゃって、君が欲しくて君のものになりたくて、明日こそはって布団の中でシミュレーション、君を考えながらまた明日。あなたにあなたの相談をしたんだ、君が男の相談をしてきたんだ。やめとけなんて言わないでよ、他の男になんて行くなよ、ずっとずっと見ていてよ。振り向いて欲しくて意識して欲しくてずっと隣にいてくれませんか、あなたが好きなの、君を愛しく思うよ。明日こそはって今日もシミュレーション、君との恋はマイムスクの香りがしたんだ。 た一粒を探しながらただたださまよいながら過ごす今度こそとふと振り返るもうこれで何度目だろ登れば登るほどに立つものは高さと落ちる時の痛み箱の中にあったものは温かいものか冷たいものか何度も何度も始まりと終わりをこうかある時かすかに光が見えた隠さないよ離せないように刻みつけたこの光だけは消させはしないかけられ結んだやっと見えた一つのことが重ねた手と手が涙でにじむもう今ならわかる信じれば奇跡は起こるあなたは私のすぐそばにいた誰だって私だって幸せになっていいどれだけ求めたって構わない私たちにはまだきっとまだ足りないこれまでの幸せ全部取り戻すよこれから私が生きていく道が正しいのかどうかわかりませんそもそも正しいってなんだわからないけれど人生が笑って終われたらいいのかな自分だけで決めた道でないにせよ自分で選んだこの結論ではある私の人生は私だけのものじゃないもうわかる今ぐっと重く感じています自己責任と言われつつまだ責任なんて本当に取ったことはない守られてここまで来たありがとうというのはまず今でしょう悔しいことなどないあっても口にはしない強がりでしょうかきっと
生きてきた道が正しかったなんてはっきりとは言えない。でも分かってきたのはみんなこうやって大人になるんだね。私は本当に成長しているのか疑問を持たないわけがなかった。一人で成し遂げたことなど何もない。いやあったきっとあった、絶対あった。旅立ちなんてそんな綺麗なものじゃない。これはマリアナ懺悔と決意で沈みそうな船だ。怖いからと震えるから置いてきた と過ぎる時間をどうかしていくばかりだ。あなたが残したもの探せば孤独に転がる店に心に植え付けられた言葉が笑顔が離れないんだ。繊細だった明瞭だった記憶さえ止まらなかった雫になって落ちてゆく。咲くことのない草加のようにうつむいて寝苦しいこと過ぎる時間が枯れてゆく。今日不思議
Tried to take a picture of love. Didn't think I'd miss her that much. I wanna fill this new frame, but it's empty. Tried to write a letter in ink. It's been getting better, I think. I got a piece of paper, but it's empty. It's empty. Maybe we're trying too hard. Maybe we're torn apart. Maybe the timing is beating our hearts. We're empty. And I even wonder if we should be getting under these sheets. We could lie in this bed, but it's empty. It's empty. Maybe we're trying too hard. Maybe we're torn apart. Maybe the timing
見上げた桜並木坂の下
その向こうに咲いた花は笑うようにただ綺麗で息を止めて 眠る君をその笑顔を咲かせたまま僕は告げたいつものようにあの日のようにさようならの意味を知ればこの心が砕けそうでただ素直にその心にその笑顔に触れたいから溢れ出す涙こら君を見つめては永遠を願い続けた日々を重ねてく限りあることだからその目に輝いた限りない心とその心を繋いでよいつもいつでもそばにいたいよと繰り返すほどにその手に握る尊さが届かない声は今静かに微笑んで全てを拒んで目を閉じたその景色は嘘に溶けて形のある限りのあるその姿はいつか口で形のない限りのないこの心はどうすればいいただ素直にもう二人で歩くことはできないから溢れ出す涙こらえて空を見上げては永遠を願い続けて君を探してる限りあるものだけがこの目に輝いて限りないことそのことを与えてよいつもいつでもそばにいたいよと繰り返すほどにその手に握る楽さが戻れない日々は今静かに微笑んで全てを拒んで目を閉じたその景色は嘘に見えて繰り返して繰り返して限りのある時の中ででも心に別る君はなぜ笑うのね溢れ出す涙こらえて涙こらえて君を見つめてた永遠の願い続けてここに生きている限りあることだからその目に輝いて限りない心とその心を繋いでよいつもいつでもそばにいるんだよ溢れ出す涙思いは今時を超えて形ない
話じゃなくていいね。余裕のない二人だったし、気づけば喧嘩ばっかりしてさ、ごめんね。ずっと話そうと思ってた。きっと私たち合わないね。二人きりしかいない部屋でさ、あなたばかり話していたよね。もしいつかどこかで会えたら、今日のことを笑ってくれるかな。理由もちゃんと話せないけれど、あなたが眠った後に泣くのは嫌。声も顔も不器用なとこも全部嫌いじゃないの。ドライフラワーみたい。君との日々もきっと色あせる。多分君じゃなくてよかった。もう泣かされることもないし、私ばかりなんて言葉もなくなった。あんなに悲しい別れても、時間が経ってば忘れてく。新しい人と並ぶ君はちゃんとうまくやれているのかな。もう顔も見たくないからさ、変に連絡してこないでほしい。都合がいいのは変わってないんだね。でも無視できずにまた少し返事。声も顔も不器用なとこも多分今も嫌いじゃないの。ドライフラワーみたく時間が経てばきっと色あせる。月明かりに魔物が揺れる。きっと私もどうかしている。暗闇に色彩が浮かぶ。赤き愛色が胸の奥。ずっとあなたの名前を呼ぶ。好きという気持ちまた香る。声も顔も不器用なとこも全部大嫌いだよ。まだ枯れない花を君に添えてさ、ずっと抱えてよ。
When she smiled at me, I fell straight to my knees, begging, please be my baby tonight. Can I hold your hand as we walk down the beach on the soft sand? Can we be best friends in love, dear? Can we grow old together? your side for the years and years to come? Can we fall like feathers falling softly for one another? I wanna be here for you through the good and bad, my love. When she first kissed me, I felt my heart beat, and I thought that my heart was broken. You must have fixed it, show me what true love is, and I'll never let you down. Can we be best friends in love, dear? Can we grow together? I wanna be by your side for the years and years to come. Can we fall like feathers falling softly for one another? I wanna be here for you through the good and bad, my love. I'll lift you up so high that for the first time in your life you'll feel like you can touch the sky. I'll lift you up so high that for the first time in your life you'll feel like you can touch the sky. Can we be best friends in love, dear? Can we grow together? I wanna be by your side for the years and years to come. Can we fall like feathers falling softly for one another? I wanna be here for you through the good and bad, my love. I wanna be here for you through the good and bad, my love.
You know it fills my heart with happiness to have met and to have lived with you. And yet as time goes on and older we grow, it feels a little sad too. Now even though it hurts, I'll hold these happy memories close and walk towards the day you leave my side and go somewhere I don't know. And if the only thing I'm here to do is to take the place of someone else, then I would rather have been born as a pebble, living life all by myself. Cause then we'd understand each other's words and feelings too. And just maybe then the me I am wouldn't ever have known you. All I ever wanted is to pour out all my thoughts and to let you know just how I feel. Even so I go and lie, telling you that every thought I have is secret. I don't earn your praises, all I ever am is cowardly. I don't know why you stay here by my side. So why, oh why, oh why? Even though the pain never ends and pulls me apart, you smiled in beside me. All I ever wanted to do was reach out to you and say that I was happy. And I watch the world seems to blur and melt all away as I can feel the tears now. These miracles flooding me won't ever make you leave, because I can still hear your voice calling out to me. And if you're gonna go and lose your way and be all alone without a light, then I will walk with you through pain and the doubt and stay here right by your side, pretending it's okay. We laugh and smile another day. We keep going on through tragedy as it starts again the same. Even with prayers and with vows that I make, I'm haunted by these horrid dreams, thinking that someday all the small pains you face in fear will take you far away from me. trust in me, I can't even protect what's by my side. So why, oh why, oh why? Please I pray for all of the nights I can't make it through and drown away in guilty pain. There will be just as many times we laugh hand in hand and cherish every new day. Cause with you the world seems alive and colored and bright now, even if I close my eyes. For someone so precious, so whatever could I do? Hey, is it alright if I keep calling out to you? That I need. Even though the pain never ends and pulls me apart, you smiled in beside me. All I ever wanted to do was reach out to you and say that I was happy. And I watched the world seem to blur and melt all away as I can feel the tears now. These miracles locked in me won't ever make a change, because I can still hear your voice calling all the same. Is it alright if I keep calling out your name?
傷ついた時はそっと包み込んでくれたら嬉しい。転んで立てない時は少しの勇気をください。思いはずっと届かないまま今日も冷たい街で一人、ここがどこかも思い出せない。終わらない夜に願いは一つ、星のない空に輝く光を、戻れない場所に捨てたものでさえ生まれ変わって明日をきっと照らす星屑の中であなたに出会えた。いつかの気持ちのまま会えたらよかった。戻らない過去に泣いたことでさえ生まれ変わって明日をきっと照らしてくれる。眠れない時はそっと手をつないでくれたら嬉しい。夜明けは来るよとささやいていて、
Today I will be reading To Break Down His Walls by Ali Stairs on Archive of Our Own. This is a one-shot, not a series, just to be very clear. Also, it's NSFW 18 plus, but honestly, I don't give a damn if you're 18. Like, I don't fucking care. With that being said, enjoy the video. Yeah. Deku watched the TV screen blankly. News of the security breach of UA Academy was swarming the media, and a plethora of pro-heroes were desperately trying to censor the news reports. From the view of the camera, a mob of angry reporters swarmed UA gates as a very frantic Aizawa tried to push them away, yelling orders back and forth to his comrades. Deku let out a sigh and looked beside him. the glow of the television illuminating the side of his face. "Crazy week, huh, Kanchan?" He gazed up at the boy who he was cuddled up against. It's whatever. I mean, it's not our fault. Our teachers need to get their heads in the game if they want to protect UA and their reputations." He let out an unsatisfactory groan and shifted his weight on the couch. He was visually bored. Deku looked around the dark room, trying to think of something to occupy the both of them. Moonlight poured in through the low-level window. Crickets chirping as a light breeze passing made the curtains dance. For around 7 months, the pair had been spending their weekends together. They played video games, cooked, watched movies, laughed at jokes only they understood. They took long walks in the park during a warm setting sun, spontaneously picking up the pace in a sort of skip and playfully pushing each other off the path. Izuku could hardly recall how things had turned out this way, but practically anything one of them would have done by themselves was now a shared activity. Of course, no one back at UA was allowed to know of this. Deku always shuddered at the thought of what might happen if they did. "The class jock, hanging out with someone like me?" Deku pondered with a grin, completely ignoring the fact that his and Kacchan's relationship was still far from perfect. Katsuki was unpredictable, unstable, and generally unlovable if you were to ask the average person. But Izuku was different. He wasn't the average person. He saw things in Bakugo no one else could, and the older knew it. He guessed that's how Katsuki even opened up to him in the first place. Whatever the case may be, he was elated to what their once fragile relationship had evolved into. Bakugo smiled down at Deku, a slight smirk on his grin. "Come on, nerd. I don't have all night. Find us something to do." Izuku laughed and stood up from his spot on the couch, straightening his shorts with a sweep of his hands. "All right. How about I go get us some food and we can play a round or two of video games together?" He smiled inquisitively, knowing Kacchan loved the competition. "All right, but you know I'll beat your ass," Bakugo called from the living room as Deku trotted into the kitchen giggling. He returned arms full with a bowl of chips, soft drinks, and a box of leftover pizza from the night before. He sat himself back down on the couch next to Bakugo, who had just plugged in the wire to the game system and handed Izuku a blue controller. He had pulled up his all-time favorite game, which was a fighting RPG called Mage, where you could use the customized quirks to fight against the other player. The two had grown up with this game in their households, and they loved playing it for a walk down memory lane. He could practically hear his mother yelling at them to come up and eat supper every time he heard that signature noise of the console's starting spark. Deku smiled contentedly as Kacchan ruffled his hair and kissed his forehead gently. He practically gushed when Katsuki showed moments of sweetness like this, for it was a side of him he only got to see when they were alone. He blushed, realizing that Bakugo had noticed him staring, quickly darting his eyes back to the screen. Kacchan held back an amused chuckle, laying his finger pads down on the controller and pushing down the power button. A flicker from the TV reflected in his crimson eyes that waited with anticipation. The game system started up with a soft whirring of the console's fan, and the bright picture of the game's title screen illuminated the small television. Bakugo was always player one, as he took great pride in being the leader. Izuku thought it was madly adorable, but would never say so out loud. He didn't really have a death wish. As the iconic theme music fired up, they dove into a virtual universe and began their first battle. The two played furiously, round after round, Kacchan taking a slight lead of points as usual. They laughed and laughed, making stupid moves and elbowing each other, bursting out remarks to try and catch the other off guard to score some hits. Evenings like these were awaited the entire week, for they could finally take a break from the grueling hard work of classes and their weekly quirk studies outside of school. Thirsty and out of breath from laughing so hard, Deku reached over to his right to grab a bottle of Dr. Pepper. His locked gaze on the television was abruptly broken when he heard the call of Bakugo's frantic voice. "Deku, what are you doing?" Confused, Deku looked over at his partner. He opened his mouth to speak, but all he could muster was to trail his eyes down to where his hand was resting. His face flushed a deep red, and he retracted his hand at the speed of lightning, struggling to form words. "Kacchan, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean," he stammered, fully realizing what he had grabbed wasn't the bottle of soda he had reached for. It was Bakugo's crotch, visibly erect through his briefs. Katsuki's eyes darted up and down as his face owned with a violent crimson blush. He turned his head agitatedly and pouted his face, clenching his jaws together in a grimace of both embarrassment and frustration. "Look what you've done, idiot. You really fucked up this time," he spat, referring to the erection Izuku had gave him from the mere simple moment of contact. He winced and crossed his legs, squeezing his thighs together. It was obvious to him now that Kachan had been holding back the entire night. There was no other way he would have reacted so quickly to a touch that swift. Deku sweated and looked off to the side, scratching his neck frantically and trying to organize his completely jumbled thoughts. Idiot was all he could think of. "I'm so sorry. You can, take care of that if you want to," he stammered, failing miserably at trying to make the situation less awkward. Bakugo shot Izuku a dangerous glance and locked his eyes on the other boys. He slowly began to grin, but the smile wasn't an apology. It was a dangerous smirk, and God, it had intention. Deku gulped nervously, his eyes following Katsuki's every move. "Well," the taller boy began, as he prowled closer to Deku and put his forehead against his partner's with a satisfied smile. "This is your fault. You're gonna fix it," he purred deviously. Deku could hardly believe what he was hearing. Did Kachan really just say that? He was absolutely flabbergasted as he struggled not to show how much the other was beginning to turn him on. He met his eyes once again, the tension now rising between them. The once chilly room now feeling as if it was 100 degrees. You mean... Bakugo cut him off mid-sentence. "You heard me, Deku. You know I don't like repeating myself," he huffed, feeling himself begin to twitch with the tainted longing. He clenched his eyes and turned his face further, attempting to conceal his fluster. With that, Midoriya didn't need another word. He shakily lowered his body towards the lower half of the blonde, taking a deep breath to calm his churning stomach. "I've been waiting for this moment a long time, Kachan," he whispered, his breath hot on Katsuki's thighs. Bakugo closed his eyes and put his hand over his mouth. "You damn bastard," he murmured, desperately anticipating what the other would do next. This was a moment he'd only ever experienced in his dreams, waking up rock-hard, flustered, and questioning what the hell was wrong with himself. But this was real life, and he was about to be hit by that fact harder than he could have ever imagined. Deku extended a hand to the concealed boner and began to rub through the fabric. Bakugo moaned softly, bucking his hips up in response to the delicate touch. Deku could already feel the thin spandex of his briefs begin to dampen under the pressure of his nimble fingers. He lowered his head down to the fabric and shakily began to kiss at it with deep precision. His partner whimpered, a noise Deku would have never guessed he'd hear from someone as tough and aggressive as Kachan. Without an ounce of further warning, he began to part his lips, gently biting down. "Fuck, Deku." The words rolled off his tongue. His member throbbed under the cage of tight fabric as he squirmed under the once meek and timid Izuku. This was a side of Deku he had never seen before. He was absolutely baffled that he even obeyed him in the first place. Midoriya rimmed the tight waistline of the dark gray briefs with his fingers. Slowly and seductively he lowered the shorts just below the most intimate part of his partner's body, leaving Bakugo completely exposed. Katsuki's cock throbbed in front of Deku, who was completely wide-eyed. His shaft was thick and long, a great deal larger than his. Pre-cum leaked from his head and glistened from the soft light of the television, leaving Deku nothing less of lustful and awestruck. "Deku," Bakugo grunted through his front teeth, shooting Izuku a dangerous look. Fuck me hard. Make me come until I can't anymore." Midoriya could hardly believe what he was hearing, but he chose to obey with no hesitation. Immediately, Deku parted his lips and met the base of Katsuki's pulsating shaft. He kissed on the older boy's member, slowly starting to move his tongue up and down the length. Bakugo writhed at the sensation of the wet heat of Izuku's tongue gliding across his cock. He grabbed the carpet with his fists and arched his back violently, clenching his teeth in agony. He wasn't a weak person, not by any stretch of the imagination, yet here he was, reduced to a drooling and shuddering mess on the floor of a living room which wasn't even his own. Deku continued pushing against Katsuki's cock with his tongue with immense pressure, traveling upwards to meet his head. He stopped. His tongue had hit... what was it? It couldn't be. Izuku raised his head, attempting to hide his shock. "Oh my god. Kachan, is that a piercing?" he gasped in complete bewilderment. There was no mistaking it, a metal bar that glistened right below his foreskin. "Shut up and keep going, Deku," the blonde scoffed, growing extremely frustrated. He absolutely hated being teased when he was this turned on, and he felt like he could scream if Deku continued to leave his dick untouched for a second longer. Swiftly, Izuku lowered his head back down and gulped. He brought his tongue to the piercing and started to fondle it in his mouth, getting an immensely loud moan from Bakugo. He grabbed the base and pushed into it harder, causing him to arch his back yet further. Face flushed and dripping sweat, Katsuki choked for air and clenched his eyes. "Deku," he swallowed, speaking with a weakened grumble. "Yes, Kachan?" The younger looked up, eyes saturated with lust. "Please, bite it," he pleaded. He clenched his thighs together, cum dribbling down his shaft and onto Izuku's hand. Deku gasped, utterly shocked. "Kachan, are you sure?" he stammered, at a complete loss for words. The thought of teeth even grazing him was too much to bear. "Did I fucking stutter you?" The older spat immediately. Deku gulped and lowered himself back down to his partner's intimacy. Hesitantly, he placed his lips around Katsuki's head and sank down. Bakugo moaned, thrusting slightly. In response, Izuku raised his head. He gently set down his teeth and grazed the pulsating shaft all the way back up. He shot a look to Bakugo, who was dark red and sweating as their eyes met. With a smirk, Deku sank his teeth down into the meat. "Fuck, Deku!" Bakugo screamed into the bite. Tears escaped his eyes and streamed down his face, rimming his jawline and landing on his chest. This felt like nothing he had ever experienced before. Pleasure like this was something he had never known existed, something his world was dark to before this moment. Midoriya pumped his hand up and down the length of Katsuki's cock, sinking his teeth deeper into the flesh. His tongue flicked the piercing once more, reducing Bakugo to screaming moans. "Deku, I'm really fucking close!" Kachan desperately bucked his hips, shoving his cock deeper and deeper into Izuku's pulsing throat. It was so wet, so hot. His thoughts hazed and his breathing picked up into quick gasps. Tears streamed down Deku's face, the thick shaft filling every last crevice of his mouth. Bakugo screamed, cum pouring out of his cock and down Izuku's burning throat. Small explosions erupted from his hands, singeing the carpet, smoke rising from beneath them. He gave 3 last slow and powerful thrusts, his body trembling and breath heaving. Midoriya panted, the sticky white liquid dripping from his bottom lip and back onto Katsuki's quivering thighs. He couldn't believe that just happened. Bakugo smoldered the embers with his right hand and looked up at Izuku with clouded eyes and a smile. "You're absolutely amazing, Deku," he chuckled a bit. "You know, that's the first time I've actually gotten a blowjob," he admitted rather sheepishly. Midoriya gaped. He certainly wasn't expecting that. No joke, huh? Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it," he stammered, assuming there would have been guys lined up for days just to get their hands on Katsuki. He laughed shyly. "It was my first time giving one." The room was silent for a few seconds before Deku hesitantly opened his mouth to speak. "Kachan?" "Yeah?" "Could I, He stopped himself from continuing. It was a bad idea. They shouldn't go any further than they already have. "Spit it out, man. I don't have all night," the blonde joked, smile upturned. "Well, I have a request," he trailed off, raising his delicate hands over his face. "Oh, do you then? Now that's something I'd like to hear." Katsuki raised an eyebrow and sat further up, meeting Izuku at eye level. The boy's emerald-green irises quivered, embarrassed and unsure, even scared. Bakugo felt his partner's drift of insecurity like a knife to the chest. "I know this is dangerous, Deku, but even though I hate to admit it, I trust you. I want to go all the way with you. I want to claim you and make you mine once and for all. That's my most deepest desire. I feel that it's yours as well?" He opened, feeling vulnerable for having such words escaped his mouth. God, it's what he had feared the most. He had fallen in love. He gave a deep swallow and clenched his fists. Deku gently closed his parted lips and took a deep breath. "Does this mean you've fallen in love with me, Kachan? Truthfully and deeply? Like the love that I feel for you?" He stopped himself. Shit. There was no going back now. His feelings were out, and he was completely exposed. Katsuki's eyes dilated and met Midoriya once more. Did he just say, he loved him too? Suddenly, time seemed to stop. The ticking of the large clock in the living room slowed and slowed and stopped. Like a tidal wave, memories flooded back Bakugo's vision, flooding him. Flashing images of the two from their broken childhoods bombarded him as bullets. Katsuki's eyes dilated and met Midoriya once more. Did he just say he loved him too? Suddenly, time seemed to stop. The ticking of the large clock in the living room slowed and slowed and stopped. Like a tidal wave, memories flooded Bakugo's vision. Surrounding him, flashing images of the two from their broken childhood bombarded him as bullets. He looked around his mindscape in panic, as a scene he would never forget entered his main view. Him and Deku stood in the warm and soft sandbox of Shiawase-no-Hi Park. Children laughed and played in the background, chasing each other and sliding. Those with winged quirks soaring in the sky, teaching themselves flight for the first time. Sitting in front of him, a young Izuku giggled and handed Bakugo a clover that he had picked from the field surrounding them. The younger beamed as Katsuki took the flower gently and met his large green eyes. "Ka-chan, when we're older, I want to marry you," he said, referencing to the parent couple sitting on oak benches watching their kids play. Katsuki snorted and sat himself down in the sand. "Whatever, Deku, you're so weird," he chuckled playfully, throwing sand at his friend. The two laughed, the noise beginning to fade as Bakugo entered reality once more. Tears streamed down his face, his lips parted with eyes still on Izuku. Midoriya looked into his tear-filled eyes, amazed. "Ka-chan, are you okay? He was cut off. Katsuki had grabbed the back of Midoriya's head and pulled him in, their lips meeting abruptly. Tears now escaped Izuku's eyes. Awestruck and light-hearted, he began to kiss back passionately and relentless. Katsuki pulling his dark hair, producing a moan. Their tears mixed on their cheeks, trickling down each other's chins, tongues intertwining. Midoriya pulled Bakugo closer, sliding onto his lap and wrapping his arms around the older's back. They continued like this for 15 minutes, impossibly close, and hearts beating outside their chests. Light-headed and pulses through the roof, they unlatched from each other, panting. Izuku smiled lovingly and stroked the prominent muscles through Katsuki's shirt. "I love you, Ka-chan. I always have," he admitted, chest pounding. "Since the time we were toddlers, there's never been a single person who could ever compare to you. That's why I never stopped pursuing. You're the only one I've ever wanted," the boy concluded in a whisper, face nuzzled into Bakugo's collarbone. Katsuki was beyond overwhelmed. He lifted Midoriya's chin gently with his muscular hand and smiled softly. "I love you too, Deku. I felt the same way my whole life. I'm so fucking sorry I never showed you that until the past couple of months. I'm so damn terrified of being seen as weak and putting myself in a position of vulnerability. It's taken me 18 years to finally let my guard down. I'm lucky it was with you." Izuku was simply amazed. This was the first sentimental thing Bakugo had spoken in his entire lifetime, and he was lucky enough to be the one to hear it. With a nod of his head and loving hum, Katsuki took him by the arm and swiftly left him up the stairs. Slowly, the blonde opened and closed the door as to not wake the dog, and sat Midoriya down on the soft sheets of his moonlit bed. On the soft silk covers, Midoriya watched in awe as Bakugo slowly raised his shirt over his head, exposing his toned torso. The contouring of his chiseled chest was shadow-cast from the gentle blue lighting, soft and serene as he threw his shirt to the side and extended a hand to his dear partner's blushing cheek. Deku raised his arms, shirt and hands as well, pulling off the fabric veil and tossing it aside. His scar-covered body gave a dull sheen in Luna's soft glow, filling Katsuki's crimson eyes with passion and aspiration. Cicadas buzzed from the trees outside, and night birds called, painting the entire scene with a whimsical aura. Izuku looked up at Bakugo. "You said you wanted to go all the way, right?" he inquired breathlessly, sliding his thumbs underneath the band of his boxers. Teasingly, he pulled them just below his V-line, exposing the toned muscles leading to his scrotum. Katsuki nodded desperately, eyes clouded with passionate lust at the sight of his significant other, so vulnerable before him. With the precision of a tiger, he climbed onto the bed, resting his knees in front of the younger. "You're positive you want this, Deku? There's no going back once it happens," he warned with caution. "Ka-chan," he breathed, extending a hand to his chest and stroking it. This is all I've ever wanted since day one. He laughed and sighed, smiling up at him. Carry out your every whim. I'm yours. With that, Katsuki lowered his hands to his partner's exposed body. He hesitated for a moment, looking back at Deku, who nodded. He replaced Midoriya's thumbs with his own fingers beneath the spandex band. Calvin Klein, huh? He giggled. You've always had such an expensive taste. He pulled down the shorts and slipped them off Izuku's legs. Deku, you're gorgeous. Bakugo couldn't help but marvel. Midoriya was muscular, but not like he was. He retained a feminine figure with curved hips and long legs, a chest soft and flush like that of down. He ran his hand along the body beneath him, causing a very much touch-starved Izuku to shudder below. He traced the muscles of his torso and leaned down to kiss his collarbones, breathing in the scent he loved so much. Midoriya squirmed, embarrassed and flustered to be completely naked underneath Kacchan for the very first time. Yet, even while scared, he felt safe and secure, like there wasn't a thing in the world that could keep the two apart at this very moment. His thoughts were interrupted by a startling wet feeling on his chest as he realized Bakugo was fondling his left nipple with his tongue. He clenched his teeth and toes curled. Desperately, he tried to cross his legs to instinctually hide his erection, which seemed only to fuel his partner further. Katsuki bit down lightly on the flesh skin, causing a jittery gasp to roll out from Deku. Why the hell did this feel so good? Bakugo took Midoriya's right pectoral in his hand and squeezed, while continuing to devour the left. Izuku whimpered and cried. This was too much to bear. He was so sensitive. Much more of this and he would come completely untouched. Kacchan, please, he begged, arching his back and rubbing his cock along the length of his partner's stomach. He inhaled sharply at the contact, melting into the sheets as he bucked his hips. You want me? Bakugo whispered into his ear, flicking his tongue at the lobe and nibbling at his cartilage, hot breath teasing the sensitive area. Yes, fuck, I want you so bad, he cried, squeezing his legs together with a tight grip on the sheets. You have quite the mouth on you, huh, Deku? You're not so innocent after all, are you? He scoffed playfully, resting his finger on the other boy's lower lip before slipping it through and pressing down on his tongue. Midoriya breathed in a shuddered breath through his mouth and wrapped his tongue around the finger, pursing his lips on the knuckle and lowering his head back. The thick finger left his mouth with a strand of saliva, and the hand it belonged to began to walk the length of Izuku's trembling body once more. But this time, the hand went lower, skipping his member completely. What are you doing? He stammered, looking up at him nervously. The blonde looked back down at him and produced a snarky grin. How about you just sit back and watch? He hummed satisfactorily. Without warning, he rested his finger against the boy's entrance. Ready? Great, he amusedly scoffed, not giving him time to answer. 2 fingers had already been pushed in. Midoriya gasped, eyes wide and mouth gaping. Never in his life had he ever been penetrated. Not by himself, not by anyone else. Bakugo had just taken his virginity. Beginning to slide his fingers in and out, Izuku moaned and bit onto his shirt collar. The lines of pain and pleasure had completely blurred and melded into one, an experience that could drive him completely insane. A 3rd finger was crammed in. Kacchan, I'm too close, he pleaded, and immediately the pumping stopped. Shocked at the immense stimulus stopping so suddenly, he felt like crying even more. Why didn't Kacchan let him release? He whimpered quietly, and tears left his eyes, cock throbbing and leaking precum as if having not released for days. Bakugo chuckled, amused at the complete mess of a state he had put the boy in. You don't want to finish before the main event, do you? He purred with a flick of his tongue. He dug his nails down into Deku's thigh and raked down it, leaving red claw marks that stung and produced further tears from the submissive. The main event, Deku thought, heat rising in his body to a boiling point. God, he's so big. There's no way I'm going to be able to take him. Just 3 fingers felt like I was going to rip from the inside out, his thoughts cried. Before he knew it, he was being lifted and turned over. Katsuki ran his hand down Midoriya's back, positioning him with his chest against the bed and ass against his bulge. His erection from an hour ago had risen once more, and damn, he was ready to use it. I'm gonna have to slicken you up before I enter so this doesn't hurt in a bad way, alright? He rasped to the boy below him. Deku shuddered. So it is gonna hurt. But he trusted what Katsuki said. Not in a bad way, if he was properly prepped. How was he gonna do that, though? His thought rambled on as they do. If he wasn't mumbling out loud, he was in his mind. That was just Izuku Midoriya. Thoughts interrupted once again. His entrance was wet. Shit, wait, was Kacchan using his tongue? He definitely was, and to Midoriya's utter shock, he was enjoying it immensely. Bakugo laughed at his throbbing hole like candy, deep noises of pleasure from the back of his throat rolling steadily out. He kissed his partner's intimacy and raised himself once again, smirking in complete satisfaction. You could tell he was definitely proud of himself for scoring this one. Looks like you're ready, dork, he teased him. Deku rolled his eyes, trying to maintain himself. On his knees, Katsuki pulled down the shorts he was wearing, re-exposing himself, this time pressing the head of his cock against the pulsing tight hole. He grabbed Izuku's ass in his hands and squeezed, once again leaving his signature claw marks. Holding his submissive's hips in his muscular hands, his twitching member slid into the entrance. Midoriya's eyes rolled in the back of his head, and he let out a cry of pleasure, the pulsing cock filling him to the hilt. He could feel Kacchan's soft groin and happy trail against the top of his ass, the sensation of being interlocked with the boy he loved overflowing inside him. That feel good? Bakugo cooed mockingly down to the mess of a boy below him. A shaky, was all that could come out of his mouth. Well, it's about to feel a hell of a lot better, he growled, slowly pulling his length back out and shoving it back in. A wet slap and loud moans were all that could be heard. Deku softly cried out, forehead against the mattress, tears rolling off his cheeks and into his hair. He opened his eyes slightly to see the view of the underneath of his stomach and clenched them shut when Katsuki thrust into him once again. The piercing planted on the underside of his partner's shaft raked his inner walls when he moved, reducing the boys to shudders of pleasure. Katsuki began to pick up the pace, thrusting in and out repeatedly. He began to call out, moaning loudly at the immense sensation of being inside an actual human being. The tug of the metal bar on his foreskin made the experience that much more pleasurable, doubling the simulation directly on his head. It felt wet and hot around his member, like the blowjob, but so much better. He was so tight it was as if the space was made for Katsuki, now stretched to the perfect size required for him to fit. Every time Deku whimpered, his cock throbbed within him, and he writhed from the absolute pleasure of it. While still continuing to thrust, he lowered a hand to Deku's intimacy and began to stroke. The green-haired boy gasped, melting into his pillow, his face buried and producing muffled sobs. He was so overstimulated that he burned as if on fire. His scrotum flushed a deep red. "Kacchan, please," he sobbed, lifting his head. "Come inside of me." Tears glistened on his cheeks, and Bakugo blushed further. He ran his fingers through his hair with the free hand from stroking Izuku and continued pounding into him with all the force he possessed. He freed both of his hands and dug them into his partner's thighs, jabbing his prostate over and over. Upon nailing it, Midoriya moaned out sobs of pure lust and agony, cum pouring out of his cock and onto the sheets. Bakugo relentlessly kept thrusting, Izuku reduced to nothing but tears from the never-ending pounding. Fuck, Deku, Katsuki yelled desperately, hitting a powerful orgasm. His cum filled Deku to the brim, pouring out and mixing what had already been released onto the sheets. He shuddered and cried, giving 2 final thrusts, and then pulled his dick out of his partner. More cum leaked from his pulsing hole and dripped down his quivering thighs, scratched up from Katsuki's nails. Both of them were absolutely desperate for breath, heaving on the sheets, exhausted, laying in their own sweat and cum. The night was calm, and cool air drifted in through the window, wistfully blowing the curtains. Through heavy breaths could be heard a soft voice. "Kacchan?" He raised his head. "Yeah, Deku?" he panted. "I love you, and I mean that with every ounce of my innermost being. There isn't anyone in this life I'd rather spend with." Katsuki smiled softly and sighed. "Stop being such a saf, you big goof. I love you too," he said, laying his hand on Midoriya's scarred-up arm. "I'm gonna clean us up now. Sorry about the mess," he said sweetly, kissing the hand before getting up and pulling his shorts back to their original position. He walked across the hall and wet a washcloth, cleaning off his legs and knees before returning to do the same for Izuku. Midoriya couldn't help but just admire Katsuki in the soft glow of the bathroom nightlight as he strode back into the bedroom, kneeling down in front of the bed with washcloth in hand. He gently wiped down his legs and back and cleaned up the soiled sheets. He put the dirty rags in the clothes basket and quickly returned to the bedroom, new shirts for the two of them in hand. He handed one to Deku. "You know, I love this side of you, Kachan. You should show it off more often," he admitted, love-struck. "If I did, it wouldn't be just special for you anymore. And that's something I never want to lose, for you're the only person who has earned it and deserved it," he stated quite frankly. "I see," Midoriya pondered as he put on the warm, cuddly shirt. He patted the spot next to him as an invitation for cuddles, and with a bit of a pout on his face, iffy to let his walls down so far, Kachan crawled over into bed, snuggling under the covers next to his lover. Fuck the walls, he thought. This was a feeling he absolutely loved and would never, ever give up. I very much hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, be sure to let me know by liking or disliking the video, and let me know in the comments if you want to see more content like this, because it was actually pretty fun to record. And if you enjoy my content, you want to see more, go ahead and subscribe. That being said, have a great day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome back to another Bakudeku fanfiction reading. Today I'm going to be reading Chapter 5 of What's a Little Kink Exploration Between Friends by Tumbleweed Chaser on Archive of Our Own. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, I highly recommend you do so, because while this is basically porn, it does have a really good plot. So I highly recommend that if you haven't gone seen the last episodes, go do that, because they're really good. And yeah, now without further ado, please enjoy. Chapter 5. Edging. Izuku. So did you just have that stuff lying around the apartment? Me. My equipment is properly stored in my chest, thank you very much. Well, what fits anyway. Izuku. You mean that giant trunk at the foot of your bed is full of sex toys? If it fits? Me. Like you don't have a box of toys somewhere. Izuku. A few things in my side table, I guess. Me. Should let me edge you with them. Izuku. Edge? Me. Oh, baby, you are in for a treat. Katsuki gazed at where Izuku was sat cross-legged on his bed, still in a pair of loose athletic shorts and an oversized hoodie. Where's the rest of it? Rest of what? Izuku asked, head tilting in curiosity. Your toy collection, Katsuki grunted, gesturing harshly at the open-top drawer of Izuku's side table. That's it. Red eyes returned to peer at the mostly empty drawer. Right. He reached into the drawer, pulling items and placing them atop the table as he took inventory. So we have a third of a bottle of lube, half a pack of spare batteries, cleaner, an expired box of condoms. What the hell, Izuku? I haven't dated or whatever in over a year. Cut me some slack. Katsuki sighed, tossing the box aside and reaching for the good stuff. One far too realistic-looking suction cup dildo. I needed it to learn how to deep throat. The world's most boring vibrator, Katsuki said, holding up a straight 5-inch untextured lavender cylinder with a simple on-off twist switch at the bottom. It gets the job done, Izuku defended. What is this remote to? Oh, I don't have the vibrator for that. I stole the remote when I broke up with Ren. That got a good laugh out of the blonde, who tossed the stray remote aside and grabbed a small black case to pursue inside. A decent set of butt plugs. I only needed one, but the set was on sale, so... Why is this cock sleeve half melted? Katsuki asked, holding up a warped blue silicone cock sleeve. I accidentally left it out in my dorm and the sun melted it a little. But it still works, so... In your dorm? Is this your first toy ever? No, I bought the vibrator first. Katsuki blinked at him, pinched the bridge of his nose, and then exchanged the damaged toy for the final piece. Now this I can definitely work with. He held up Izuku's cock ring, designed to go around his balls and clip around the base of his cock. I don't think I ever used that, Izuku said. It was a gag gift from Uraraka when I started dating Shoto. Explains the quality, Katsuki huffed. Not one of those cheap toys you've been torturing yourself with. Kachan, Izuku pouted. Don't be mean. The blonde snorted but kept his attention on the utilitarian toy collection. He selected the vibrator, dildo, and cleaner, tossing the cock ring onto the bed beside Izuku. Okay, Katsuki said, turning his crimson eyes to meet Izuku's. Let's talk limits. Limits? I know you enjoy some rough handling, but where do you draw the line? For example... Kinks can get pretty intense, Zuku, Katsuki said, tone serious. Blood and knife play, asphyxiation, torture kinks, scat. Scat? Literal shit. Literal shit. Izuku crinkled his nose with distaste. That doesn't sound sanitary. Katsuki snorted. Every kink comes with some level of danger. Part of what makes it kinky. Just gotta remember to be safe about it. Midoriya hummed in consideration. Are any of those your kinks? Not really. Well, choking can be fun when done right. I don't think I'd want to introduce that alongside your first time being edged, though. Then I don't think I'd want to do any of those others. The blonde blinked owlishly, processing Izuku's answers. If I said I wanted to shit on you, would you have let me? Izuku hesitated but finally shook his head. No. I trust you and enjoy all this with you, but I don't think I would be able to do that with you. That's a limit then, Katsuki said. What else? The green-haired man shrugged a shoulder. I don't really know, to be honest. I guess nothing that would affect my ability to work, you know? Or that might kill me on accident. Reasonable, and far from anything I had in mind tonight, Katsuki said. And if I do something you don't like, or go too far, you... use my colors. That's right, Katsuki said with a smile. So, on the menu tonight, cock ring, fingering, oral, dildo, vibrator, edging, obviously, spanking and hair pulling is necessary. Everything sound all right? Izuku nodded. Yes, sir. Then, eyes darting away with embarrassment, you can, bite and move me around like you did yesterday, too. Enjoyed getting manhandled, baby? I liked it a lot, sir. All right, baby, I'll keep that in mind, Katsuki said. And, kissing. Me too, the blonde confessed. Now, I'm going to go clean up our toys before we play. You're going to get undressed and wait for me. No touching yourself. Izuku lipped his lips and nodded, a little anxiety present in his eyes that Katsuki only recognized from a lifetime of knowing the man. Do you want to play tonight? Yes, sir. Here or in the living room? Here, sir. You sure you're good with everything? Izuku thought. Yeah. You don't sound sure, Zuku, Katsuki said, stepping closer and shifting the items in his hand so he could reach up to pat the green curls. I won't be upset or angry. What's on your mind? Will you get undressed too, sir? Katsuki smiled and dived down to steal a kiss, leaving a wide-eyed Izuku staring at him. Of course, baby. How naked do you want me? I want to see all of you, sir. Okay, baby. You will. The shiver that ran through Izuku was thrilling. To know he was excited to see Katsuki was a stroke to his confidence regarding being able to keep Izuku after the quirk ran its course. Ready to get started, then? Izuku nodded, more eagerly this time. Green, sir. Be right back, Katsuki said, stealing another kiss as he left. Izuku made quick work of his clothing, tossing them in the direction of his hamper, uncaring if it actually made it into the basket. Over the course of the past few days, he'd noticed a trend in the itch the quirk caused, the constant craving for exploration. It was dull at work or near his friends, nearly gone when he talked to his mother on the phone. But when he saw Katsuki, it grew louder, needing only a little creative material to start screaming. After a session, it would weaken, temporarily sated only to flare back to life again the next time he saw his roommate. At the same time, it didn't flare for things they'd done. Spanking and oral were exciting, but the craving seemed dispelled now that it had taken place with his chosen partner. Tonight, his mind focused on Katsuki's fingers, on the idea of having him inside, the idea of him naked, and using his hands to move Izuku around for his pleasure. He shuddered at the wave of lust his thinking sent through him, cock hardening without stimulation as he knelt on the bed and waited for Katsuki to return. He had no idea sex could be like this, that a partner could be so rough yet so careful and caring. It was downright addictive and becoming a distraction in other parts of his day. He was very quickly becoming spoiled, doubtful he'd ever find someone that could live up to the very high standard Katsuki had now set. Katsuki returned to the bedroom, disappointingly still dressed, but Izuku bit his lip instead of saying anything. The blonde leaned on the frame of the door and smirked. "Don't pout, baby. I didn't forget." Curious green eyes followed the blonde's movement, watching him drag his eyes over Izuku's body before walking further into the room, carefully placing the clean toys aside. He eyed the poorly aimed clothing Izuku had thrown aside and tisked. "My baby sure is messy. I guess he needs to be shown how to handle his clothes correctly." His sharp red eyes locked onto Izuku as he reached back to pull his shirt over his head, revealing the milky plains of his abdomen and pecs, his wide shoulders making Izuku drool. Then he threw his shirt at Izuku, the warm cloth hitting him in the face as he bit out a harsh, "Fold it." Izuku frowned but obeyed, doing his best to fold it neatly. When he looked back for approval, Katsuki showed mercy and removed his pants, only to repeat the order. Once the clothes were folded, he set them aside. "Good enough for today," Katsuki sighed, as if not happy with the work. "But we'll have to work on it." The tone made Izuku pout, and he glanced at Katsuki's boxer briefs but didn't dare say a thing. Katsuki caught it, though, and laughed. "I wouldn't get in a hurry, baby. Good things come in time." A huff escaped Izuku before he could stop it. Katsuki gripped his chin, pulling his face harshly until they were nose to nose. "Awful bratty tonight, aren't we?" "No, sir," Izuku said quickly. Katsuki tisked in annoyance. "I didn't ask you a question, slut." The hand on his chin dropped to Izuku's shoulder, shoving him down on the bed. "Ass up." Izuku scurried to roll over, his head at the foot of the bed, and scrambled to get his feet under him so his ass would be presented. He barely had time to get into position before the first spank hit him, 2 more hard hits in quick succession, scooting him along the mattress so he had to grip at the bedding with his fingers and toes. "Shouldn't lie to me, baby," Katsuki said. "Didn't lie, sir," Izuku squeaked. "Oh, really?" Another hit, more to the back of his thigh than his ass. "So you aren't a brat." Izuku moaned, and then sucked in a deep breath as another slap came down on his other thigh. "I'm sorry, sir." "Still talking, brat," Katsuki said, 2 more strikes coming down. "And a slutty one, too." He growled, his hand grabbing Izuku's ass before trailing around his hip to grab the hard cock leaking between Izuku's legs. The shorter man whined at the touch, a loud moan when Katsuki ran his thumb over the tip. "Probably ready to come already, aren't you, slut?" he said with a stroke. "Answer me." "Yes, sir. Wanna come." "Bratty sluts don't get to come," Katsuki said, as his hand snapped the cock ring in place at the bottom of Izuku's shaft and then pulled the remaining band down around his balls. Sir, please," Izuku whined again. Katsuki chuckled at him, pulling his hands away from his body completely. "I told you edging was on the menu tonight." The blonde loved the whimper Izuku made as he realized what he'd agreed to, clearly not understanding based on the definition he'd given earlier in the day. "Color?" "Green." Cold, slick fingers pressed between Izuku's cheeks, and he instinctively lowered his head forward further, pushing his ass out more. Katsuki circled his rim, the lube quickly warming from the heat of his hands. "Needy slut," he commented, dipping the tip of his middle finger in and pulling a groan from Midoriya. The blonde continued his menstruations, teasing his way into Izuku at a maddeningly slow pace until he'd finally worked 2 whole fingers in. Izuku was still whimpering and whining, quiet moans but not the overwhelmed, uncontrolled sounds Katsuki loved. He curled his fingers, seeking out the little spot that would get Izuku yelling again, and was rewarded for his efforts with a loud gasp and kneeing sound. Before Izuku could recover, he slipped the boring little vibrator in, angled to hit Izuku's prostate, and twisted it to its single setting. Izuku wailed, grappling at the bed and involuntarily bucking back onto the toy. Katsuki reached out with his free hand to yank at Izuku's hair, pulling him closer to the edge of the bed. "Did I say you could move?"
No, Izuku tried to respond through his moans and gasps.
"Didn't think so," Katsuki said, fucking the little toy into Izuku, pounding at his prostate until fat tears began to roll down Izuku's heated face, freckled features cinched tight with the desire to come and frustration at not being able to. Katsuki pulled the toy away, stepping away fully so that Izuku could pant and huff on the bed, little sniffles highlighting his efforts to calm himself. Izuku faintly registered his movements, Katsuki leaning over the bed, the sound of fabric rustling. "One more, baby," Katsuki said. His hands returned to Izuku's curls, a little gentler this time to guide his eyes towards the wall his bed was shoved against. There he could see the suction cup dildo attached to the wall. A fresh set of tears escaped Izuku's eyes.
No, he whimpered. Can't.
Katsuki leaned down closer to him, soft strokes to his hair.
"You're doing so good, baby. Look at me,
Izuku turned his head, tears and snot smearing along the comforter, to blink at where Katsuki was kneeling beside the bed next to him.
"What's your color, baby?"
Yellow, Izuku said, another tear working its way down his freckled cheeks.
"Love those crocodile tears,"
Katsuki said, leaning forward to lick up the salty tear and then kissing over the shut eyelid, then repeating the motion on the other side. He continued his soft menstruations to Izuku's hair.
"Want to hear the plan for the last one, or stop?"
What plan?
"I've got that suction cup dildo of yours on the wall, ready for you to fuck yourself with," Katsuki answered, tender despite the words. "Let you suck my cock while you work yourself, let you come."
"I can't come." Katsuki chuckled a little at Izuku's efforts to rouse himself at the thought of coming.
"Yeah, baby. You've done such a good job. You can come, if you want. Don't even have to do it the way I planned."
Izuku took a deep breath.
"Want to do it, sir."
"Give me the green light when you're ready," Katsuki said, leaning forward to kiss Izuku, letting his tongue trace along the other man's bottom lip. Izuku opened up for him, letting Katsuki lead the kiss, soft touches until the darker-haired man finally pulled back just enough to breathe out a green.
"Hands and knees,"
Katsuki commanded, watching carefully as Izuku positioned himself in front of the dildo. The blonde stood, naked now, still hard from watching Izuku. Green eyes devoured the sight in front of him, trailing over the explosive hero's body.
"Beautiful,"
he whispered to himself.
"Think so, baby?"
Izuku nodded.
"Yes, sir."
Katsuki grinned, reaching forward to stroke Izuku's face.
"You too, baby. Now."
He gripped Izuku's hair, pulled his face down to his cock.
"Get to work."
The sub did as told, mouth opening wide to stuff Katsuki down his throat, urging a loud moan from the dom.
"Don't forget to fuck yourself, baby," he reminded,
placing a warm palm on Izuku's hand to guide him to the dildo. Izuku reached back to stabilize the toy and sunk back onto it, hips snapping back and forth.
"Take the ring off,"
Katsuki directed, much to Izuku's relief if the shudder that ran through his body was anything to go off of. His hand went to work as the ring loosened, his motions increased, humping back faster and harder, letting Katsuki hold his head still so he could fuck him as he pleased. The thing about edging, in Katsuki's opinion, was that it was just as much torture for the one doing the edging as it was the one getting edged, except without the luxury of a cock ring to help hold back. It didn't take him long to go over said edge, with Izuku swallowing him down and rubbing his tongue along the underside of his shaft. Izuku began begging the second his mouth wasn't full, eyes glazed over, hips working overtime, Katsuki's cum dribbling from his lips. Please, 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 so close, sir, please. Go on, baby, you can do it. Whatever you need. Izuku's hand went to work, pumping himself quickly, a deep guttural moan, and then he slammed back against the dildo and orgasmed intensely, spraying over the bedding below him. Katsuki caught him before he could fall off the toy too quickly, helping him to gently make his way back to the bed. He climbed up beside the other man, collecting him in his arms, helping to calm him, sweet assurances pouring from his lips. So good, absolutely perfect, such a beautiful boy, good boy. The shorter man's breath evened out into the deep breaths of sleep, so Katsuki carefully extracted himself, cleaning up what mess he could and running a hot bath. Gently he roused Izuku. Come on, baby, time for a bath. Izuku hummed in agreement, allowing himself to be led to the tub to soak. Katsuki wedged in behind him. The blonde had seen this a few times, not quite subspace but close. He didn't want to leave Izuku alone for the night for the fear of a drop, so for now he helped scrub Izuku clean, held him close in the water. That was different, Izuku said finally, quietly. Different good or different bad? Good, said Izuku. I think just intense. You feel good now? Izuku hummed. Amazing. Good. Was worried I went too far. You slowed down when I needed you to. It's the point of colors. Yeah, said Izuku, and then my bed is a mess. Sleep in mine, Katsuki said, placing a kiss on the top of Izuku's head. He felt the shorter man stiffen for a second and then relax against him. Okay. I very much hope you enjoyed this reading. If you did, be sure to check out some of the others I've done. A link to the fanfiction will be in the description. New videos go up every Wednesday and Friday, and if you want to see more like this series, give a recommendation, feedback, or just say hi, leave a comment. And if you like
I swear I think it's real unfair that you should put it there. All we did was kiss. Oh my grave, I swear. Where did you find his shoes? The lock of my hair. All we did was kiss. On my grave, I swear. Some dumb morning we were wearing sheets, and you whispered, I think that they know better than me. See this hand that pushed you into the creek? I'm sorry, was just fun, and you were laughing. We ran running toward the street, and I wrote my name into the fresh painted yellow line, and you wrote your name right there next to mine. We had to dodge a truck, he almost hit a buck. I think we had some looking for $2. We bought some bread and fed the gray geese and the ducks. Everyone will yell, I thank you just the same. If you didn't tell my mother says that I will surely go to hell. Please be a good man, don't say you won't tell. Everyone will yell, I thank you just the same. If you didn't tell my mother says that I will surely go to hell. Please be a good man, please say you won't tell. Did you know that that boy is an art man, bearing flowers and 2 hands, very able to hold me down and love me more than anyone? Bruno, what happened to your good sense? I broke down, that man's good. I bet he works for the government. Did you hear about that mother broke her daughter's legs in 2 and said it's too dangerous out there to walk, so I had to save you? I think it's real alright. All we did was kiss. Oh my God, I swear, where did you find his shoes? The lock of my hair. All we did was kiss. Oh my God, I swear, I think it's real unfair that you should put it there. All we did was kiss. Oh my God, I swear, where did you find his shoes? The lock of my hair. All we did was kiss. Oh my God, I swear, everyone will yell. Everyone will yell. I thank you just the same. If you didn't tell my mother says that I will surely go to hell. Please be a good man, so say you won't tell. Everyone will yell. Everyone will yell. I thank you just the same. If you didn't tell my mother says that I will surely go to hell. Please be a good man, please say you won't tell. Bruno, did you know that the Greeks in the morning would eat oranges? They were firm believers in fruit curing fevers, and I agree. See, they believed that an orange warms the stomach.
で私の心埋めていたもの失って初めて気づいたこんなにも私を支えてくれていたことこんなにも笑顔をくれていたこと失ってしまった代償はとてつなく大きすぎて取り戻そうと必死に手を伸ば
When she smiled at me, I fell straight to my knees, begging, please be my baby tonight. Can I hold your hand as we walk down the beach on the soft, 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 soft sand? Can we be best friends in love, dear? Can we grow old together? I wanna be by your side for the years and years to come. Can we fall like feathers falling softly for one another? I wanna be here for you through the good and bad, my love. When she first kissed me, I felt my heart beat, and I thought that my heart was broken. You must have fixed it, show me what true love is, and I'll never let you down. Can we be best friends in love, dear? Can we grow old together? I wanna be by your side for the years and years to come. Can we fall like feathers falling softly for one another? I wanna be here for you through the good and bad, my love. I'll lift you up so high that for the first time in your life you'll feel like you can touch the sky. I'll lift you up so high that for the first time in your life you'll feel like you can touch the sky. Can we be best friends in love, dear? Can we grow old together? I wanna be by your side for the years and years to come. Can we fall like feathers falling softly for one another? I wanna be here for you through the good and bad, my love. I wanna be here for you through the good and bad, my love.
The big black